Okay, these are my 6 people.
Cameraman Dave. My name's Steven, actually.
Good evening. My name is Teresa Bird, and I'm here to talk about one of the most famous battleships used by the United States in World War II. This is my presentation and informative speech of the battleship of USS North Carolina, a proud reminder of freedom. She began service as a new style battleship with much more armor, firepower, and speed than previously seen in the U.S. naval fleet. She was a major factor in many naval battles in the Pacific area of operation. The battleship USS North Carolina was commissioned on April 9, 1941, and was one of the world's greatest sea weapons. She earned 15 battle stars for distinguished service throughout her time of service. This is a picture of the USS North Carolina leaving Pearl Harbor in 1942. As you can see, it was a big ship with many guns. She was headed back to the Pacific Theater in the Pacific Ocean. The USS North Carolina carried one aircraft, the Kingfisher, and this is a picture of the Kingfisher going across the ocean at sunset, which is a real pretty picture. The Kingfisher was used in search and rescue operations for downed pilots and also reconnaissance missions, and this is where the USS North Carolina established Protector of Aircraft Carriers. Established the name of that. The firepower of this battleship was staggering. Each of the turrets were capable of firing 2,700-pound shells, which is the weight of a small compact car. It had 23 miles to target on shore and at sea. She had a firing rate of 2 rounds per barrel per minute, with the 10 5-inch twin-barrel guns of multiple 40 and 50 millimeter guns, which totaled 128, that she could target her targets that attacked her from the air. This high rate of fire, the smoke from her guns, would make the battleship appear to be on fire if viewed from a distance. This is a picture of the USS North Carolina firing her 16-inch guns at night, and as you can see, it looks like a big fireball. And this is a picture of the USS North Carolina shooting the 5-inch twin-barrel guns at night also. The sailors and equipment working in the nerve center were protected by 16 inches of armor plate and were located deep within the ship. This area included the ship's computer and radio rooms. Messages were received and decoded, data was plotted and evaluated and displayed. Critical information was relayed to the commanding officer that he could order appropriate maneuverings of the ship and the firing of the guns. This is a picture of the captain, which has a very hard last name that I can't pronounce, but he's at the right in 1941. He was the captain of the USS North Carolina. Visiting USS North Carolina is almost like going to a small town, which I have visited several times. The crew of 2,339 served on board had almost everything that they needed or wanted. They had a hospital, a general store, movie theater, bakery, butcher shop, and print shop all on board. They slept in metal bunk beds that were stacked 5 feet high, or 5 high, and it was very small quarters. We found one interesting thing, that a baker, in order to serve every sailor on the ship one piece of pumpkin pie, he would need 6 cases of pumpkin, 100 pounds of sugar, 30 gallons of water, 30 dozen eggs, and 22 pounds of cornstarch. And that was just to serve one piece of pumpkin pie to the sailors. This is a picture of the sailors headed to New York for relaxation that were stationed on the USS North Carolina in 1941, which was, I'm sure, a very deserving break. The USS North Carolina served the United States and his citizens with pride and distinguished honor. Today she is moored in the Cape Fear River in Wilmington, North Carolina. Visitors are able to explore the 9 decks, which range from the bridges to crew's quarters, galley guns, and much, much more. She is painted with authentic measure 32 camouflage paint scheme, which is where vertical surfaces also feature dual black and ocean gray, but substituted light gray for somewhat darker haze gray. This battleship was decommissioned in June 27th in 1947 and was placed in an inactive reserve for 14 years in New Jersey. In 1958, the battleship of North Carolina was headed to the scrapyard, but the citizens of North Carolina wouldn't stand for that. They came together and got a campaign started called the SOS campaign, which stood for Save Our Ship. The campaign was successful, and the USS North Carolina arrived at her resting destination, or resting place, which is in Wilmington, October 2nd, 1961. April 29, 1962, it was dedicated to all the World War II veterans and the 10,000 North Carolinians who died during the war, and it stands now as a memorial to them. One last bit of information, I don't know if anyone is aware, that there is a legend out there that the USS North Carolina is haunted. Only 10 men lost their lives during battle, and it is said that 2 of the men still remain with the ship. It is said to be a young blonde that is seen in passageways, and the other one is seen peering out portholes. Hatches and doors open and close, while lights and televisions turn on and off by themselves. Things are moved in front of witnesses, as well as sometimes hear them talking and yelling. There are cold spots throughout the ship, as well as footsteps heard and eerie things happening. In conclusion, as you can see, the USS North Carolina is a great history and part of North Carolina, and it is a great place to go visit. I hope you've enjoyed this brief historical presentation of the USS North Carolina. Thank you.